Delmar is a street in St. Louis that runs east to west and holds great historic value to St. Louis and the people who live in it. Since the late 1800s, Delmar has attracted a diverse group of shoppers, artists, and entrepreneurs. If you've heard of the Delmar Divide, what is the Delmar Connection?
It seems like a pretty cool area.
A nice place to bring people to.
I feel pretty good about it.
It's very diverse.
Great area. A lot of culture.
I don't have really much I dislike, actually.
I think it's a pretty okay place.
It's a pretty nice place. I hang out.
It seems like a lot of people just pass by without saying hi, so I don't know.
Delmar is beautiful.
It's fine. Yeah, potential to get better. Yeah, it does. Especially with the right people putting Delmar front.
I know that like further down Delmar, like it's definitely a lot rougher. Like, yeah, it's kind of interesting to see how drastic it falls off.
I would like to know more about the history of Delmar, how it kind of came into being.
My name is Elmita Jordan, and a lot of people know me as Elmita Cookie Jordan or just Cookie Jordan. Scott Joplin was one of the few African Americans that completed operas. He was considered the king of ragtime, which was a new phenomenal music genre that had taken the country by storm. So when he produced a lot of the songs that were heard earlier, it cemented the fact that St. Louis was a hotbed of music in the United States, not just this neighborhood.
Before I started the project on the Delmar Connection, I only really saw Delmar as a place where the Loop was, with a bunch of shops and concerts and a lot of art in the community, and it was just kind of a connecting street to a bunch of other streets in the city.
St. Louis was a very congested city. This neighborhood originally was mostly Irish and German, and then African American. And you could be divided by the street almost.
Well, when I was a little girl, there were fancy stores, and that's where you went shopping. There were 2 movie theaters, and I went to dancing school down the block. There were great restaurants, but we're back.
I grew up on Waterman Avenue and went to Hamilton School. Most people were one-car families. I mean, very few people had 2 cars. And my dad traveled a lot for business, so my mother would pick me up and we'd go to White Castle.
I grew up in U City and used to walk to the Loop every Saturday with my girlfriend Lauren.
And I remember when I needed new shoes, my mother would take me up to a shoe store in the Loop.
Last time I came to Delmar was when I saw nothing but houses. When I was little, a little bit, maybe almost in my teens.
My mom used to come down here. She was really big in the community, and I always just thought of it as just another place to go to on the weekends. I usually was in the Loop area, and occasionally in the actual like north side type Delmar area.
Unfortunately, people think of the Delmar Divide, and hopefully what Joe Edwards and a lot of people who really care about the community are doing, it won't be a dividing line anymore.
The Delmar Divide is sort of it's African American to the north and it's Caucasian to the south, and that's what makes it a divide.
And sometimes it's the rich to the north,
the rich to the south,
and the poor
to the north.
And it just should, anyway, I won't get into the political.
Right now I feel like it's kind of two-sided. Like if you were to walk out on the street right now and ask people how they feel, maybe half the people would tell you that it's a very great place to go to, and the other half would tell you that it's a terrible place. Well, I think it's mixed opinions basically because of the Delmar Divide and also because of the experiences that people have had in this city.
St. Louis was just like, boom, here is the street Delmar, and this is his, and this is that. And I think with you all telling this story and doing your research, that you could actually inform the population here of how odd that is. It doesn't have to be, but it's very odd. There's people that I know that don't go past Forest Park. They're afraid to go past Forest Park. From the north and from the south. I assigned my students to go to Forest Park. They have to go to the History Museum. Some of them are like, oh my God, I've never been down there. I said, well, you can ride together as a posse on the Metrolink and walk together in a group. And, nobody's gonna harass you to go from the Forest Park Metrolink to the History Museum, for example. But there are people who literally were scared to go. And that's because of the history which brought in this Delmar Divide. Now,
my name is Frank Williamson, and I'm the Alderman of the 26th Ward. I was elected in 2003 up until the present time. Prior to that, I was the committee man of the 26th Ward. Got elected as committee man, I guess, approximately around 1988 or 1990, somewhere in there. It kind of fuzzes my memory, but somewhere along there. Yes, ma'am. Great. As you know, years ago with the Delmar Divide, which still exists, that was put in place, no telling when, way before I was born, probably even my parents were born. So St. Louis was a polarized city. It was very divided between, black and white, north and south. But I think what you have now, you have more of a melting pot now. Things are a lot different. And I think people are coming together and, learning to get along with different races and creed and ethnic background. So I think the future is very, very bright for Delmar in this area, I do. And I think the whole city of St. Louis will come back. I'm very positive about it. And when I was a kid, Woolworks, it was a grocery store down on Delmar. It was completely different. So we went through the ages of the 70s and the 80s, kind of being a little bit on a blighted side, really didn't have the businesses that we really had. U City, the Delmar Loop, you'd be surprised at one time. It really wasn't like it was today. I mean, it was kind of depressed too. It was slightly blighted, but it just really wasn't, attractive and had all of the venues that it does now. So it really came a long way, and I think that we're really on the upswing, on the positive swing, and it's going to be very, very helpful for the city of St. Louis compared to the way it used to be. Yep.
Okay. Before this program, I didn't know anything about the Delmar Divide. No, that actually made me pretty appreciative of what I'm doing, because back then people was separated, and now we can do this little documentary telling about how people come together, different races and other different types of people, and just telling how this one street just brings everybody together. I thought that was a pretty good experience.
And in the 1960s was a really dark moment in our country's history, not just St. Louis, where white flight occurred because of blockbusting tactics by real estate people to churn, commissions and all, and a lot of decline in value and a lot of vacancies started happening, both residential and commercial. And that was a time where a lot of people in the Loop area on Delmar dug in their heels, and a lot of open-minded and tolerant people said, enough of this, we're not going to move, we're going to stay here and try to help stabilize the area. And a lot of open-minded and tolerant people moved in the area, and little by little it stabilized and slowly came back. During the 1970s, when I opened Blueberry Hill, that was the start of the revitalization, really, just where everybody was welcome. It set a tone for the Loop, and that tone today just slowly started getting better and better, and now it really is probably the safest city street in the Midwest, in the entire Midwest, because of the people on the sidewalks, because of the people going to the shows and the theaters and the art galleries and the restaurants.
I feel like we're developing something that can make a change in our community. I think that the Delmar Divide and making it the Delmar Connection is prominent.
The trolley is very meaningful to St. Louis in general, not just the Delmar Loop and Forest Park attractions, but it could be and should be a prototype for how to connect other neighborhoods to each other and to Metrolink. The future of cities in our country is transit. That's one of the big factors. Important. So I envision this to not only be a tourist draw and a local visitor draw from St. Louis, but to connect to the 12 million visitors to Forest Park attractions and vice versa is really important. That could mean financially a big difference in getting a convention to St. Louis. If people are planning a convention and they're deciding between maybe Louisville, Indianapolis, and St. Louis, oh, well, they have this new trolley system that connects Forest Park with all its great things to one of the 10 great streets in America with over 50 restaurants of every imaginable cuisine, art galleries, entertainment venues like the Pageant and the soon-to-come Delmar Hall and Blueberry Hills Duck Room. That could be very meaningful. They could stay downtown and take Metrolink out. They could stay in Clayton and take Metrolink in. And all of a sudden, St. Louis's reputation grows and grows, and it is a cool city and a wonderful city. So,
I just want people to know that Delmar is a beautiful place. It's very diverse. It has two ends to it, and right in the middle of it, there's a huge melting pot with a lot of diversity, and it's not really divided as it actually is. Once we all come together, there's no longer a division, it's a connection.
I think Delmar is becoming the way America should be. It's a great mixing ground for everybody. It's gone through its ups and downs through the decades, to say the least. And my hope is to keep bringing it back and be one of the model streets in America. It's already been designated one of the 10 great streets in America by the American Planning Association. And part of that is so meaningful because part of the reason that it was is because all people come together here. There are $50,000 homes one direction, $500,000, $1 million homes another. So people of all economic strata interact here and talk about music and art and argue politics and interact. It's racially and ethnically diverse. People of all backgrounds own businesses, own buildings here. Women own a lot of the businesses on their own without a spouse. A lot do with spouses too. And it's age diverse too. There are older adults that live in the area that intermingle with the college students and the high school students and all. So it's a wonderful place.
The Delmar Connection will continue to bring people together throughout St. Louis in all walks of life, but only with the effort of the new generation. Through history, art, food, and diversity, Delmar is making a positive impact on the community. What is your Delmar Connection?